يا أهلا وسهلا فيكم ببرنامجكم سماشي كريبتو اللي منغطي فيه آخر المستجدات في عالم العملات المشفرة. واليوم بدنا نحكي عن القيمة السوقية للعملات المشفرة، وأيضا خبي لكم بعض الأخبار الأخرى، وبالختام رح يكون عندنا مقابلة رح نحكي فيها عن أهمية حماية استثماراتنا أيضا في العملات الرقمية. وخلونا نبدأ بأول خبر معنا لليوم. بس قبل ما نبدأ بأخبار اليوم كنا عم نحكي أنا وعلي تحت الهواء إنه علي كتير مبسوط لسبب انه استثماراته كلها بالاخضر هلا، والماركت يعني طالع، فمبسوط وعم بيقول انه خطوه ذكيه جدا اني استثمرت بالعملات الرقميه. مثل ما عم نشوف الان البيتكوين يا علي وصل اكثر من 47,000 دولار الآن، الارتفاع أكثر من 3.14% تقريبا. أيضا عندنا الإثيريوم ارتفع أيضا، وصل ل 3288، الارتفاع أكثر من 4%. وحتى عملة الدوتش كوين وصلت ل 0.3، مثل ما بنتذكر للأسابيع الماضية وحتى الأشهر الماضية كانت تقريبا 0.1 لفترة طويلة جدا. الآن الارتفاع لعملة الدوتش كوين وصلت أكثر من 13% نسبة الارتفاع. وحتى القيمة السوقية للعملات الرقمية والمشفرة ارتفعت بشكل كبير، وهذا أول خبر معنا لليوم، اللي هي فعلا أنه عادت القيمة السوقية للعملات المشفرة إلى مستوى تريليوني، تقريبا 2 تريليون دولار مجددا، وهو المستوى اللي لم يتحقق منذ شهر مايو الماضي تقريبا. ولكن استمرار تحقيق المزيد من المكاسب عم بيواجه عقبة بسبب متطلبات الإبلاغ الضريبي الجديدة المحتملة في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية تحديدا. ارتفعت قيمة أكثر من 8800 رمز مشفر تتبعها شركة كوين جيكو تقريبا بنسبة 55%، لتصل إلى 1.95 تريليون دولار بعد ما وصلت إلى أدنى مستوى لها في يوليو. وساعدها في ذلك ارتفاع أسعار عملات بيتكوين وأيضا إثيريوم. وتوقف صعود بيتكوين بسبب الرقابة على العملات الافتراضية في مشروع قانون البنية التحتية اللي أقره مجلس الشيوخ، وذلك طبعا وفقا لبورصة العملات المشفرة لونو. جاءت التحركات إلى الأعلى حتى بعد أن فشلت صناعة العملات الرقمية على الفوز بتغيير قواعد الإبلاغ الضريبي للعملات المشفرة في مشروع قانون للبنية التحتية بالولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، تاركة لغة سليمة للإشراف الواسع على العملات الافتراضية في التشريع اللي أقره مجلس الشيوخ تحديدا يوم الثلاثاء الماضي. مثل ما عم نشوف القيمة السوقية للعملات المشفرة بارتفاع كبير جدا، وأيضا عم بتنافس العديد من الشركات اللي لها سنوات من ناحية القيمة السوقية. خلينا ننتقل لثاني خبر معنا لليوم ونحكي عن شركة AMC للترفيه. شركة AMC للانترتينمنت والترفيه قالت إن رح تبدأ بقبول عملة البيتكوين كدفعة للتذاكر السينما إذا تم شراؤها عبر الإنترنت في جميع صالات العرض في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. وقال آدم آرن، واللي هو يعني ماسك سلسلة دور السينما، إنه رح تكون مستعدة تقنيا لقبول العملة المشفرة كدفعة بحلول نهاية 2021، يعني هذا العام. وتمثل هذه الخطوة تزاوجا بين اثنين من الأصول شديدة المضاربة، عملة بيتكوين المعروفة بتقلبها الشديد وأيضا سهم AMC اللي أصبح نجم أسهم بفضلها تجار التجزئة في منتدى ريدت تحديدا الشهير، وللأشخاص اللي بيحبوا الأسهم المتعلقة بالميمز وغيرها. تأرجح سعر البيتكوين بشكل كبير في الأسابيع الأخيرة، ليتم تداوله مؤخرا إلى قرابة مثل ما ذكرنا اليوم 47,000 دولار بعد انخفاضه إلى أقل من 30,000 دولار في الشهر الماضي. وكتير ناس قالوا إنه البيتكوين رح ينزل حتى لتحت 20,000. جاء الانتعاش الأخير بعد فشل مجلس الشيوخ مثل ما ذكرنا في دفع صفقة البنية التحتية المبرمة من قبل الحزبيين الديمقراطي وأيضا الجمهوري، إلى فرض قواعد أكثر صرامة على مستثمري العملات المشفرة لجمع المزيد من الضرائب بهدف استثمار 550 مليار دولار منها في أنظمة النقل وأيضا الطاقة. يذكر أيضا أنه تسلا كانت قد أعلنت سابقا عن خطط للسماح بالعودة بالتعامل بعملة البيتكوين البيتكوين بعد ما أوقفت شراء السيارات باستخدام العملات المشفرة تحديدا في منتصف مايو بسبب مخاوف بشأن كيفية مساهمة التعدين في تغيير المناخ وتأثيره على البيئة أيضا. وكان الرئيس التنفيذي إيلون ماسك قال بأنه عم بيخطط للاحتفاظ بالعملة على المدى الطويل، وهي أيضا من الأمور اللي ساهمت في دعم العملات الرقمية والمشفرة. خلينا ننتقل لآخر خبر معنا لليوم واللي ضجت فيه كل الأخبار المتعلقة في عالم العملات المشفرة، واللي هو أكبر عملية احتيال في تاريخ العملات الرقمية، حيث قالت شركة بولي نتورك منصة العملات المشفرة اللي استهدفت في وقت سابق من هذا الأسبوع بهجوم إلكتروني إنه القراصنة اللي بيقفوا وراء واحدة من أكبر عمليات سرقة العملات المشفرة على الإطلاق قد أعادوا تقريبا جميع ما قاموا بسرقته، وهو ما تتخطى قيمته 600 مليون دولار. وهاجم القراصنة منصة بولي نتورك الشركة المتخصصة في تحويلات العملات المشفرة يوم الثلاثاء تحديدا في واحدة من أكبر سرقات الأموال الرقمية في التاريخ. ولكن بحلول يوم الخميس أعادوا جميع الأموال المسروقة تقريبا في سلسلة بطيئة من المعاملات. وقالت الشركة إنه القراصنة اللي سرقوا العملات المشفرة بتتخطى قيمتها 600 مليون دولار تقريبا من منصة بولي نتورك، أعادوا تقريبا ما قيمته 342 مليون دولار بعد أقل من 48 ساعة. يوم الأربعاء بدأ القراصنة في إعادة العملات المسروقة، مما دفع بعض محللي البلوك تشين إلى التكهن بأن ربما وجدوا أنه من الصعب جدا تبييض العملات المشفرة المسروقة بهذا الحجم حسب ما نقله موقع منت. ولكن المنصة اللي لم تكن معروفة كثيرا قبل السرقة الضخمة يوم الثلاثاء أعلنت على تويتر أنه القراصنة من فئة القبعة البيضاء، في إشارة إلى أنه القراصنة اللي عم بيهدفوا من هجماتهم عموما إلى الكشف عن نقاط الضعف السبراني ومن ثم بيقوموا بإعادة الأموال. وطبعا سببه هو ثغرة أمنية في منصة بولي نتورك. وهذا الموضوع اللي رح نركز عليه في مقابلتنا لليوم. بعد الفاصل مقابلتنا مع ستيفن ووربيك المدير العام لشركة داك لايف، رح نحكي فيها عن كيفية وأهمية حماية استثماراتك في عالم العملات الرقمية. خليكم معنا ولا تروحوا لبعيد.
much yourself.
المدير العام لشركة دك لايف. يا أهلا وسهلا فيك معنا اليوم. Hi Stephen, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yourself?
Very good. We were talking just right before the interview about what happened in Poly Network and heist and whatever happened. So we would like to discuss with you how important it is to protect our investment in the crypto market, especially these days.
Yeah, sure. So I assume that people have context in terms of what happened, but it was basically an exploit on the Poly network, layer 2 kind of piece. So it wasn't the actual underlying protocols that had the exploit, but ultimately it was one of the biggest. So I think it was 600 million.
Yeah.
Turns out to be a white hat hacker.
Exactly.
Which is good. So kind of testing kind of the ecosystem and then returning the funds. Although I'm pretty sure it caused a lot of people a lot of stress. Panic, yeah. I mean, for obvious reasons, and kind of to the point that you're kind of saying the need to kind of secure your own funds, your own investments is really important, because if we're going to step into this kind of decentralized like financial world, and we're going to have kind of ourselves as the people who are the holders and the people who are accountable for our funds, then we have to take responsibility ourselves. So there are quite a few ways that you can do that.
So tell us what are the ways? Yeah, please.
Sure. I mean, firstly, it really depends on what type of crypto you're holding. Personally, me, I'm really a Bitcoiner through and through. So, I tend to take if I buy Bitcoin, then I tend to buy that from an exchange, and then I immediately take it offline. So it goes into a cold wallet or a hot wallet. Cold wallets are basically something that's disconnected from the internet. So you just take your private keys offline. You've got Ledger, Trezor, Engrave is another one that's coming out soon. I'm keeping an eye on. And that's in effect disconnected from the internet. You have to use your passphrase. You have to have a separate PIN, and you load your Bitcoin onto that. Some of the wallets do actually support other crypto tokens, some of the main ones. So that's good. Hot wallet is something kind of that's still connected to the internet. So it's like an app on your phone. Coinbase wallet is a good example. Yeah. Blue wallet, Moon is MUUN is another good one. And in effect there, it just means that it's easy to kind of access. So it's less secure, but I still use them. But you're in effect always connected to the internet. So what you wouldn't do is go into, say, a cafe and just connect to some random Wi-Fi, because that's kind of where hackers can kind of exploit. So you always want to kind of keep kind of your whereabouts as to what you're doing and what you're connected to. Personally, for me, I stay on the 4G network. When I'm offline, I don't connect to any third-party Wi-Fi when I'm out and about. And obviously don't click on any the kind of links that you get sent on SMS. I know we have a big problem with that. Emails you have to be aware of. So they're the two wallet types of storing your kind of crypto. The other way, which is kind of what happened here, is you can kind of lock them up to earn yield. And that's kind of where this exploit happened with Poly Network. So it's great that you can earn a return on your crypto, but whenever you're seeing yields, whether it's 5%, 10%, 20%, that's coming at the cost of risk. So a 20% return sounds great, but you're assuming that return for quite a high risk per se. Exactly. So the smart contract that got that kind of was hacked, and it has been a number of them. That was where that kind of breach then kind of materialized.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, and is it important like to diversify where we're investing in different apps, for instance? Yeah.
So it really depends on how much you hold in terms of crypto, and kind of you've obviously got to secure your own password yourself. So you don't store your passwords online, or say don't use Apple Notes or Evernote.
Yeah.
You have to write them down. You can separate them out and put them in two places. Just don't forget where you put them. But fundamentally, if you hold a lot of crypto, then you ultimately want to spread that out across wallets, because otherwise you've got a single point of failure. Exactly. So it's always better to have multiple wallets, be it cold storage and kind of easy access storage as hot wallets, and then some, if you're a trader, you might want to keep some on exchanges. But I'm not one to recommend keeping any of your assets on the exchange, because again, that you're assuming the risk that they have as an exchange. So their vulnerability is your vulnerability. Whereas at least if you own and you've kind of got control of your crypto, then it's your responsibility. Exactly. So you're the sole person accountable.
Exactly.
So yeah,
for instance, like if I'm a beginner in the crypto market and I really want to invest, is it best to hold and just like keep on the side whatever I'm investing and be patient about it, or the trading?
I mean, if you look at my Twitter handle, it's Stephen Hodlbeck. So I personally, for me, I'm okay, I do it in two ways. So I hold 95% of my crypto. I brought it as an investment. I see investments as long-term, either 5, 10, 15-year event horizons. And really that's kind of been my thesis, all along when it comes to investing in this space. Predominantly Bitcoin, and a bit of Ethereum as well, just because of the network growth of both of those. So yeah, if you're new to this space, then, no one's very good at timing the market. It's all about time in the market. So you'd want to be buying and taking a 5-10 year time horizon. I think if we look at where this space is going, you're more likely to outperform yourself as a trader if you hold on to kind of whatever you invest in over the next 5-10 years. If we look out to 2030 and we see kind of where the financial markets are heading, all the infrastructure that's being built around it, I think taking that kind of longer term view is probably going to help you out. Trying to trade this market, especially on leverage, is probably asking for quite a bit of trouble if you don't really know what you're doing. But there's no harm in buying and selling. If a coin, for example, goes up 100%, you don't really know what you bought, and you were just dabbling in the space to teach yourself, and then you sell it. Absolutely no harm in that either. It's really up to you. But personally, as an investor, buy and hold.
Buy and hold. When to buy then?
When to buy? Same advice that I've been giving friends, family for years now. You dollar cost average. If you're new to the space, then you will always be waiting for that lower price because you believe you are better than the market. Yeah. So the best advice for any new investors, particularly anyone coming into the space in the last 12 months, or thinking about coming into the space now because of the attention it's got, just take whatever it is that you've got left over for your month, and dollar cost average in. If you have a lump sum that you want to buy into, my recommendation is not to buy once it's, a market's moved up 20% in one day, which is what we sometimes see in the crypto space, but maybe to buy when everyone else is maybe, a little bit more fearful. But fundamentally, as a new investor, dollar cost average is probably the most sensible advice anyone can really give you.
So what do we tell the people who are saying like it's too late to invest, in, especially in Bitcoin? The fact that it's over $40,000 right now, 47 to be specific.
Yeah, so I mean, if you buy one whole Bitcoin, then that's the cost, but you can buy fractions of a Bitcoin. So and to anyone that says we're too late to this market, I would argue that you're still mega early. You're probably still in the early adopter phase. Given that the market's less than $2 trillion, and we're looking at kind of, what's a total addressable market? Maybe 500 trillion, 600 trillion. I mean, the way the printing presses are going around the world today, maybe that market size is going to increase even more. So, quite a lot of well-known macro investors in this space would still argue that there's a 50 to 100x in this space over the next 10, 20 years, really depending on kind of the growth of the market. And I think if you do take that kind of long-term time horizon and say, let's look at the network effect, the adoption, if you apply Metcalfe's law to this, then that everything is kind of going bottom left, top right, particularly Bitcoin and Ethereum. And with that in mind, you'd be entering into this space now, and with that trend continuing, it's very likely the price will continue to follow that trend. There's no guarantees, of course, and a lot depends on a broader macro kind of take of the world as what we see today. It's no longer just a space of kind of cypherpunks betting on crypto, right? This crypto has really gone mainstream, and will continue to do so. As kind of the US government spent quite a bit of time discussing the other day for their infrastructure bill.
That's exactly played a huge role.
Yeah, I don't think you're late to the game now, given the amount of probably money that's sitting on the sidelines waiting for clarity on regulations. I think you're still early, and you potentially, if you've got a bit of money on the side and you want to invest, don't invest your life savings, but maybe just get a bit of exposure to this industry.
Exactly.
And just hodl and see where it goes.
Exactly. Even we were talking about Coinbase before, you mentioned it, like the fact the amount of users that increased was massive, like over, I think, 12 million new
12 million
yeah,
in Q1.
like it's insane.
That's an enormous number. And I think when you look at those numbers for Coinbase, and I saw something on Twitter the other day, can't remember the exact details of it, but it compared the user growth the returns of Coinbase to the stock exchange and the other exchanges, and it completely blew them out of the water as well. So I think there is quite a significant uptick in adoption, and the more markets that people are able to access crypto from, and they're able to get the on-ramps into the market, we're going to see that continue. I think Coinbase's numbers just demonstrate that alone. And arguably, if you're worried about owning crypto, then having exposure to coin, from a stock point of view, or MicroStrategy even for that matter, might not be a bad shout either. Personally, I would hold the underlying asset if it was me. But Coinbase growth is something that I think just validates kind of what we're seeing on chain with Bitcoin in terms of the network growth.
Exactly. And we were talking about the protection, and how to protect yourself and your investment since the beginning. And regulations, I think, from countries will play a huge role in that. What's your take on that?
So, interesting one. The regulation piece, I mean, everything that's been going on in the media recently has been taking place in the United States. I'm not a US citizen, so I don't really, can't comment too much on it, although I was a bit vocal in terms of some of the approaches that were kind of being discussed. Fundamentally, the reason there's been a lot of prosperity when it comes to the US over the last few years or decades has been the fact that they, as a country, embrace innovation. And, by embracing innovation and protecting those freedoms, they have managed to accelerate and grow exponentially. So when it comes to the regulation space, I think regulations are healthy. They're going to come regardless, because some of the bigger players, whether it's institutions, countries, they're going to need that clarity. And, it can be cited under investor protection, but ultimately it is about keeping some form of control and tax governance. And ultimately, whether you're a kind of pro or against that, it is an inevitability for a healthy market to kind of continue that way. And I think the regulation discussions that are taking place isn't something that you're going to see resolved in 12 months.
Yeah.
Regulations ultimately could take 5, even 10 years to really iron out, particularly when you think about the red tape and the kind of back and forth, the Democrats or Republicans, the blues, the reds, whatever side you sit on, there's got to be a lot of agreement as to that. The challenge that I see with it is whether the regulators or politicians actually engage with the industry. The industry can really help shape, trying to shoehorn old policies or old regulations to this innovative space is not really going to produce the outcomes that I think many in the industry want to see. So that's something that I would love to see happen over the next few years, is a complete collaboration to help bring this space kind of to the forefront, and for the innovation to be allowed to continue in a safe place within kind of whatever those regulations are.
But there are so many things that are playing a role in the market. Like we see sometimes a tweet from Elon Musk that changes the whole.
Good old Elon. Yeah.
Exactly.
I wonder if you've got any Dogecoin holders in the. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you look at the markets and you think, okay, and the human behavior is you see something happen and there's causation. So that must have caused X. Elon Musk was able to kind of influence the market. But the market structure, if you looked at it from a technical point of view, was indicating that either the market was overblown or ready to kind of move up. On-chain data when it comes to Bitcoin was demonstrating that as well in terms of what long-term holders and short-term holders were doing. So there was a lot of environmental things within the kind of space anyway, and then it just needed a trigger or a fire just to go in to kind of cause.
And he's ready for it.
Exactly, and be ready for it, right? Ride the volatility if you're going to trade it, or capitalize on the volatility if you're going to hold. So if the market drops down, like it did recently from April to July, that's a great opportunity to start buying back in. It's not always a good opportunity to start buying in when Elon Musk is pumping every single Dogecoin and writing, stuff on Twitter, which causes every single cryptocurrency to move, 20, 30% up. So, I think the volatility is something that is gradually slowing down in the space. And I think kind of those influences, those individual influences will become fewer and farther between, I think, as this space matures. It's still a very young industry. I mean, it's 12 and a half years old. So it's quite expected.
How would people block the noise and be patient and hold when they want to invest?
That's one of the genuinely, that's probably one of the hardest things, right? Because we're conditioned as humans today. We think very short term, right? We've lived the last 2 decades, particularly the last decade, and this next decade that we're going into is going to be crazy. But we're conditioned to think quite short term. We want instant gratification. We're used to things immediately. So, if you're of that mindset, you really have to retrain yourself to zoom out and kind of think, okay, what am I investing in here? Am I trying to make a quick buck, or am I actually trying to protect my earnings for my future retirement? And, if you're able to kind of, get your mindset in that way first, then you're pretty much 70% of the way there. How you filter the noise is really about spending and investing your time to understand who are the credible people that you want to follow in the space. For example, if you go on Twitter, you could follow a ton of traders, but they have different objectives to you. They're trying to flip within a short period of time. Whereas if you follow people like Paul or Anthony Pompliano, you can actually learn quite a bit from these people who have a much longer term time preference and understand kind of the broader market movement. So you have to go and seek those people out. If you listen to a lot of traders and look at what's happening on day to day, then you're kind of countering your investor kind of mindset. Whereas if you're a trader, then that's actually, you want to play the daily moves. So, for me, it's difficult. I do keep in touch with the trader piece, but predominantly I listen to a ton of podcasts, watch YouTube. I tune into, select group of people, and I don't really stress about kind of short-term moves.
Nice. So get the knowledge and filter it out. Do you think Bitcoin will reach 100K before the end of this year?
I mean, I'm not going to speak in absolutes because I don't think anyone knows. I personally have believed that is a higher probability for 2 or 3 years now. Nothing has changed my opinion on that being potentially the case. I don't think that's the top, though. If it's moving to that sort of number and the adoption continues and the data continues to kind of show long-term holders are holding on, and layer 2, the Lightning Network continues to grow, then I see no reason for that not to be achieved. If regulations come out really kind of negatively, and the space is kind of being held down a bit, and we have a bit of a bigger macro downturn, which is possible given the climate that we're in, then that might slow that. I personally think it's going there. Whether it gets there by the end of the year, perhaps, but it doesn't matter if it gets there in end of next year. I mean, for me, it's by 2030. I think it's I think the space is going to grow exponentially. I think the whole space is going to explode over the next decade, and I think being part of it is an opportunity not to be missed. 100%.
What's one lesson you would like to share with us that you've learned from investing in crypto?
Don't sell. So genuinely don't sell. Like there's nothing. I mean, in that fact, there's 2 lessons. Don't overexpose yourself, and then don't sell. right? So if you overexpose yourself, you will have sleepless nights and then you'll want to sell. Unfortunately, when you sell, the chances are that coin then goes up 50x and you have to sit from the sidelines watching it. But yeah, for me, it's don't sell. Just invest long-term, hold, and be part of the journey. It's pretty exciting.
And enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey, exactly.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Steve, Managing Director of Duck Life. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
وشكرا لكل الناس اللي تابعتنا. أنا بشوفكم بحلقة جديدة من سماشي كريبتو. نهاركم سعيد جميعا.